Hey, Brandon, this is a pretty big moment. 100 episode.
Dude, episode 100. And look at this place. Look at this studio. This is amazing.
If Nick could maybe put up the picture that you have of the first rendition of our studio back in 2023.
The closet.
Yeah.
That we called a studio because we felt to what we have now.
Well, that's where I want to start for our 100th episode with you. Where did you think this would go? What were you hoping was going to happen?
Gosh. Well, I mean, if we go way back, I don't remember what year it was. We started a podcast called Dream Again. And if I recall correctly, our goal, our hope was to inspire, motivate, encourage, and challenge people to be better in different areas of life. 6 areas of health. And we had different guests come in and just share their story. Some entrepreneurs who failed time and time again and before they finally saw success. And then we would break it down and give our insights of what we thought and try to encourage our audience, and really struggled.
What was the struggle over?
No reach, no downloads. People weren't listening. People weren't engaging. I don't know about you. It was cool to be a podcaster back then. Like if you had a podcast, that was cool. And so it was kind of like, let's build some credibility. Let's start a podcast and do something cool. And it didn't work. I joke often that, like, especially on our social media, the only engagement we would get is your mom and my grandma. You know, my grandma would like the posts, your mom would comment, and it wasn't going anywhere. And it was hard to write new content. Like, how are we going to inspire this week? It was a struggle.
It was a humbling season for sure, because you at that time still are a professional speaker. You're going around and speaking to hundreds and thousands of people. I'm a nobody, and really, but to look at our views and see how many follows we had, it's like, oh, wow, we must not be very good at this, or there's something about us that people aren't engaging with.
It was incredibly humiliating, to be on a stage one week with 1,100 people in the audience and then come back to your hometown and do a podcast and get 3 downloads was frustrating. It hurt. And so I remember you and I had a hard conversation where we decided to shut it down. But we didn't give up on the idea of a podcast. In the 6 to 9 months, just letting thoughts incubate, I think it was you who said, what if we created a podcast that wasn't about us, made it about others? And here we are.
And for anybody that knows us, and maybe we'll jump into this later, you and I like to talk. We are not short on words.
Correct.
So being humbled, and then to humble ourselves more, to be like, let's just ask other people questions, get to know them, and not have any of it be about us.
Yeah.
was tricky and difficult.
But it worked. From episode 1 with Ben Wyman, the reach, the downloads, the listenership, the engagement, and it's continued week over week for the last 100 weeks. And it's been incredible. And it's helped those problems. The prep work, we just got to find amazing people come in the studio who are willing to give us an hour of their time to have a conversation and just get to know them, hear their story, what makes them who they are, what challenges did they have to face, or what challenges did they face that helped shape and form them and who they are today, and what are their hopes, their dreams, like where are they going? And I think the relationships that have come out of the last 100 episodes are amazing. The people we've met, people that we never would have had an opportunity to sit down with, have stepped foot into this studio.
That's probably been one of the more surprising things as well, is for me, is it's so hard to connect and network, and everybody's so busy, specifically entrepreneurs and people that are making moves in this community. So you just don't get an opportunity to sit down with them and pick their brain and get to know them. But if you invite them on a podcast, it just opens doors.
Yeah.
It's really fun because there's been very little that's been surprising. Very little opposition. People saying, no, I don't want to come on the podcast. Most people say yes.
I think we've reached out to, 120, 150 people. And I can only think of one who has said no.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been stood up. We've had no shows. We've had, but actually it's just saying no only one time. And it's been an unbelievable journey. I'm so grateful for the last 100 weeks.
Yeah. What's been the most surprising thing for you in this whole journey?
This isn't easy. Podcasting. I thought coming in, this is easy. We just show up, sit down in studio. We got a great team who's got lights and cameras and recording and all we have to do. But just the consistency of showing up every week is a challenge. It's exhausting. And there's times where we record a couple episodes back to back and it is mentally fatiguing. Mentally fatiguing. Is that right?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, it's work. It's a job. That has been surprising to me because as a speaker, a guy who's not short on words, it's been a challenge.
I think that's why there's so few really exceptional listeners in this world. It is easier to talk than it is to listen, take in, engage, and have empathy.
Well, maybe that actually is the bigger challenge for me is in a conversation that's being recorded as a podcast, it's half conversation, half interview. And so you have to have the ability to listen to what your guest is saying, being fully engaged, while also processing where are we going in this conversation and what's the follow-up question. And the tension between those two burns a lot of mental calories and can be very difficult. But I want to ask you, what's been the most surprising aspect of the Missoula podcast?
I'm not one that likes to be in front of people or on the stage or has the spotlight. And the challenging aspect of this and the cool aspect is everywhere that I go now, and then this sounds like, oh yeah, I'm a big deal. No, we're not a big deal. That's not what I'm saying. But everywhere I go, people say, how's the podcast going? I love this episode, or you're so good at this. And it almost feels like, maybe not that I'm an imposter or anything like that, but I was like, I can't believe people listen to this. Yeah. I can't believe people tune in and appreciate this work. And, my dad thinks that this is what we do full time. This is all we do. We think about podcasting. We go and find guests, we edit, and maybe that's a testament to our team, how we're able to have full careers and do this on the side. But, the other thing on that, Brandon, is the hardest thing for me is I think we're so close so often with our guests to getting more depth out of them and figuring out how to break through that vulnerability in people is so tough. And I don't think I'm an expert at it yet. I want to continue to be able to draw deeper themes out of people, be able to draw more emotion out of people, more joy out of people. But there is a blockage in a lot of people that they don't want us to come through that.
Do you feel like in the last dozen episodes or more, we've seen more emotion from guests?
I think so.
Is that coming from the questions we're asking, or do we just happen to have people who are a little more vulnerable?
That's tough to say. I think the fun part about doing this with you for 99 episodes is you and I both know where we want to go next. And you'll set them up with a question that will allow me to maybe drive a little deeper or vice versa. But I think we're getting better at empathizing, listening.
How bad do you think those first episodes were from an interview perspective?
They probably weren't.
Should we go back and listen to Ben Wyman episode? We had no clue what we were doing. We brought a guy on who's a news anchor, professional on camera, very articulate with his words. And we got two just idiots trying to interview him for episode 1. I don't know what we were thinking or how we landed him. We had zero credibility, zero. And Ben came in and kicked us off. And
yeah, that was great. Thank you. He made us look a lot better than we were.
I often get the question, what's your favorite episode? Incredibly difficult question to answer.
How do you answer it?
Depends on who I'm talking to. I think I know the answer they want to hear. I would say from my seat, we've had some incredible episodes. We've had some episodes that don't go as well. We have episodes that surprise us. They're way better than expected. And I think I'm often surprised at the episodes that we don't see coming. We just think it's going to be just another conversation and then it blows up or something deep. So I don't know that I have a favorite. There's been some unreal, surreal moments. I'm like, what are we doing here? I don't know if you recall the day we had Josh Smith in here from Montana Knife Company.
Yeah.
And he missed a call from Joe Rogan while he was in our studio.
Yeah,
what?
That was surreal.
Like crazy.
I saw he was on with Dave Ramsey.
He was on Dave Ramsey recently.
That's so crazy.
The guy's all over. John Wicks was pretty cool. Just hearing about his story of being with Fitz and the Tantrums and being at a birthday party with CeeLo Green, Taylor Swift,
Catherine Burkhoff coming in with her gold medals. That was wild.
But then the simplicity of a story like Jamie Rendell about losing her sister to an overdose and what that's done for her and the impact she's making today has longer lasting, more value than that of a gold medal. Don't want to dismiss the gold medal overcoming it, but the difference people are making in the lives of others rather than just achieving resume builders or accolades continually surprises me, because I want the bright and shiny, these amazing stories of overcoming, but then just the simplest ones come in and just grab your heart and compel you to do something.
And that's been a balance for you and I, is how many of the really heartfelt, deep conversations do we have compared to how many of the, everybody knows Catherine Burkhoff here in Missoula or John Wicks and Ben Weinman. So and they have great stories too, but how do we mold together all these different stories to make it fit? So that's my next question for you. What has been your strategy for finding guests? Because you procure more guests than I do. You're better at it than I am. How do you do it? And what are you looking for?
I mean, I think it was episode 96, 97. David Whitmore, Danger Dave, Rodeo Clown. I've heard more people in the last 2 or 3 weeks say that's the best episode. That's their favorite episode. Yeah. And I don't know that it's the best episode or their favorite episode. It's such a unique, different episode. It's like nothing we've ever heard, but it grips you. It's memorable. It stands out. And so I think trying to find guests that there's an element of surprise to their story. Like it's not we brought on Coach Nate Harris with the Lady Grizz. Well, anybody who has any clue knows that episode is going to be about women's college basketball and how he got into but when you bring in a guy that's a rodeo clown, there's so many questions. You have no idea what to expect. And so finding those guests. So I think the number one area where we've got our guests is just asking our prior guests, who do you recommend? Who would be great? Who has a great story? Who was it? Courtney Babcock came on, the runner and Olympian, and shared, I think she set us up with like 4 or 5 guests. She's like, you need to have this person, this person, this person with their story. Dee Cummins was the same way. And so I think just through the relationships of asking people, hey, who would you recommend? We do get a lot of people who go to our website, MissoulaPodcast.com, and fill out a form where they inquire about being a guest. And we've found some great guests that route. But I think it's just, me being born and raised in Missoula, the proximity principle, 6 degrees of separation, it's been really easy to just, how do I get to this person? Because you know somebody who knows that person, and simply just asking, hey, will you come on the pod? And people are a little hesitant. Like, what, me? Why would you want me? And just because you're awesome. You're a story. And that's when you had the idea of, let's create a podcast that's not about us, but other people in our community. I don't know how many people are in Missoula. Is it 60,000, 80,000, 100, 120? Like you hear all those numbers. So we'll just say 100,000 in the surrounding area. That's 100,000 unique stories, 100,000 incredible people who have a purpose, who have overcome, who have a future. And so really finding guests is really pretty simple. You just go out your front door every day and meet people. So yeah. Do you have a favorite episode?
I think I'm obligated to say that Michael Allen was my favorite episode, just because he's been my best friend. He'll listen to this and he'll be mad at me if I didn't say that. I really enjoyed that with him, from where we've come out of Dillon, Montana, and the knuckleheads that we were growing up, to see his progression and to highlight that story was really fun for me. Lowell Holkalter was really, really challenging for me.
That episode with Lowell is one that I think of where it creates compassion and realize compassion compels you to do something.
Yeah.
Like once you listen to Lowell speak, you are forced to make a decision. You're either going to ignore this situation or do something about it. And I think that episode probably had the greatest impact on my life as well.
Yeah. And just to sit, he was so good at making us and forcing us sit in the uncomfortability of, hey, this is happening often to young women. What are you going to do about it? Right.
Yeah.
So that was impactful. But then there was also fun ones where we just laughed the whole time.
Josh Jones
is exactly what I was thinking about. Brought my cousin Jeff Allen on.
Yeah.
He was really engaging.
We had my dad.
Your dad.
Amazing
was
story of just overcoming. Yeah.
So it's hard to say like which one is your favorite. I think so much of it depends on where our mental state is too. You know, we have some pretty full schedules and kids and wives and a career. And sometimes I notice if I'm more engaged on a Thursday morning when we record, those episodes seem to be more enjoyable compared to if I come in and I'm tired and exhausted. And so I've been better and I've been worse. And I guess that depends on it too.
Where do you hope to see the Missoula podcast go in the next 100 episodes? Do you have 100 more in you?
Oh man. I don't do very much compared to what you guys do. So I should be asking you and Nick and Matt.
We'll get Nick and Matt in here in a little bit. Let's bring them in and drill them with some questions.
100 more would be tough. We set out with a goal of 150.
Yep.
And not to think about numbers, views, impact. Just we want to do our best every episode for 150, ask great questions, promote other people, love other people. And I really enjoy it. I really enjoy working with you. I really enjoy the people we get to meet. You know, maybe at some point this can go into other communities and cities. That would be really awesome. And the role could change.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, why not? What else are we going to do?
Let's do it. I'm in.
How about you? You're good? I'm
in. Let's do it. It's been amazing. No doubt there's been days I wanted to quit. There's days I'm frustrated with you and our team and like, this is a grind. Why are we doing this?
That's my next question. So what is the most challenging thing about doing a podcast with me?
Oh, how much time do we have? I knew this question would come up and I don't know that I have a solid answer. It's our personalities. I stress every Thursday morning wondering if you're going to show up. Like, are you going to be here? Do you remember?
I've not missed one yet.
You haven't.
Oh, I did miss one.
You did miss one. No, I don't. What was the question? What frustrates me the most about working with you? You don't think about unintended consequences. You just get stuff done. Like we're both drivers, but you just get it done because it needs done and don't realize that you're going to the damage along the way or the ripple effect, where I'm a little bit slower and methodical. And that probably drives you crazy that I'm lazy from your perspective.
Older and wiser. You are slower to make decisions.
We're the same age. What are you talking about? What's the most frustrating part for you working with me?
You are, I'm going to get a little vulnerable here.
Okay.
You good with it?
Yep.
I think your greatest gift is that you're so quick, your mind works so fast, and that you've already thought about all these unintended consequences that might happen. That I constantly feel like I'm 7 steps behind you. And that can lead me to feeling like I'm not good enough.
Dang.
Or I don't belong here. Or I don't, and again, it's a local podcast, but this goes into our professional careers as well. You're just really exceptionally good at so many things. And I'm pretty average at most things. So that's been tough.
Well, thank you. I think it's a compliment, as I hate that you feel average. You're so much more than average.
Thank you.
Yeah, we wouldn't be here without you're so gifted, and your compassion and empathy with our guests. And we've got an episode coming out here soon where you hit pause in the middle of it to go deeper and slowed me down, because you just realized there's a moment that we needed to catch, and you're really good and gifted at that. Do I need to slow down for you? How can I help? How can I fix that?
No,
because I don't.
That's the struggle.
But I don't want you in that tension.
We got to work out. No, it's great.
Okay.
It's perfect.
We'll work on it.
I love it.
Okay.
You are you're going at 100 miles an hour, man, and it's awesome. It forces me to keep up and to go hard with you, which I really love.
Well, thank you. Speaking of 100 miles an hour, this is episode 100.
Yes.
Of the Missoula podcast. And for the last 6-8 weeks, we've been asking fans on Instagram, on social media, to ask us your questions. We got a fishbowl here on the table. If you're just listening, check us out on YouTube. This new studio, this set is amazing, but we got a fishbowl full of questions that you, Missoula, have asked our listeners. Our parents have asked us questions. We threw them all in a fishbowl. This is completely random, nothing pre-scripted. It's our own little version of rapid fire questions for Brandon and Steven. Steven, go to the fishbowl. What do you got for me?
You ready?
I'm ready.
What was your first initial memory of Missoula, Montana?
That's one of our rapid fire questions.
That's what I pulled.
Gosh. I think my earliest, I'm born and raised here. I think my earliest memory is my second birthday party. And my parents, we lived in a house out in New Meadows, which is a neighborhood way out Mullen Road near the Kelly Island area, just before the Ranch Club. And my neighbor, our next door neighbor, I was 2 years old, was Diane Beck, realtor here in town. And
Shout out to Diane Beck.
She was one of my first babysitters. And I remember her M&M cookies that she would make. And I would stand in her living room eating my M&M cookie, looking at her aquarium. And that's probably my earliest memory is my second birthday party in that house. Just I remember vaguely the cake, and I think my parents have pictures of it. I think they dressed me up in like this little like sailor's outfit for whatever reason for that birthday party. And then I remember the cake had like a stagecoach on it. And yeah, I don't know. But how about you? Because you're from Dillon. You came to Missoula much later. What's your first initial memory?
This is kind of a weird story. I was 12 years old. My dad and I came up here in the summer. Not sure why it took me 12 years to get to Missoula from Dillon. It's only 2.5 hours away, but it was the first time I came here. And we rode our bikes down the Kim William Trail. And then we hiked the M. And it must have been in the spring or fall. I'm not sure what, but we looked down and I saw Washington Grizzlies Stadium and they had a practice going on. And I was up on the mountain. I'm like, this is so much better than Dillon, Montana. Whoa. So cool. There was just life, people were out doing stuff. It was active. And I had this weird feeling that someday I would live in Missoula. Now, my life took a lot of left turns before I got here, but I always remember that moment of I'll live here someday.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How about this question? Have you ever been recognized in public as the podcast guys?
Yes.
Yes.
I was doing a Zootown challenge, this race, and I came over this obstacle and there was the aid station guy right there. And he goes, dude, Missoula podcast, man. I was like, I'm running my race here, man.
So
but yeah,
well.
Thank you.
I remember there was a moment, like it was a feel good, but it was also frustrating. I was at a Montana Grizzly basketball game and a guy walked by my seat and he stops and he goes, Missoula podcast guy. Yes. But I've had other businesses and careers and things I've tried to build for the last 20 years that just don't get recognized. It's so frustrating. But yeah, get recognized often.
It's kind of humbling. I couldn't imagine being like actually famous, like Leonardo DiCaprio and trying to go places. That'd be wild.
Steven, what would be the worst business to open on Reserve Street?
What a great question. Here's what I'd never do. For 5 years, I worked for Cisco Food Distribution Company. We had a guest on that we just interviewed that I worked with. And I worked with restaurant owners. who most of the time were working Friday, Saturday nights. And each and every one of them told me, don't you ever start a restaurant. This is not the life that you want to live. Because it is so appealing. You think, oh man, it's so great to give people food and you make them happy. And I have a good pot roast recipe. But restaurant owners, man, they work a lot. They're dealing with a lot. They're always stressed. And I would never open a restaurant on Reserve Street.
What's the biggest technical disaster you've ever had while recording?
We had an episode on the Dream Again podcast. You remember this?
I think you have the exact same answer I'd have.
Tell the story of Buff Reynolds.
We recorded this episode. This guy named Buff Reynolds, incredibly emotional, like tears, crying, vulnerable, opened up, just shared his heart. Honestly, pretty powerful.
It was good.
It was really good. We got done and it was long. It was like 45, 50 minutes, and episode ended and it was just kind of silent, and walked over, and at the time we didn't have a true producer, and we realized that nobody hit record and we did not capture that episode, and it was a total disaster.
So what did we do?
We recorded it without the same emotion or the same heart, and it just wasn't what it was supposed to be.
We did the same exact podcast twice.
It was brutal.
And the second one flopped.
That was
bad.
Thank God for Nick Balla, who hit record on 100 straight episodes.
This one comes from my mother.
Are you serious? Hold up. Your mom had a question. She asked you 4 times, right? To make sure it was submitted. We submitted it in the random fishbowl with 59 other questions, and you pulled it out.
I pulled it out. You can read it here. Brandon, what is the most impactful life lesson that your mother has taught you?
I think your mom wanted to ask you that question. Most impactful lesson my mom has taught me.
Tracy Smith. Shout out.
I don't know why, but she taught me that it's very important to keep an unnecessary amount of plastic bags under the kitchen sink. Is that not true? I don't know why. That was one thing she taught me. No, honestly, I think one of the biggest lessons my mom taught me was always do the right thing. And I see that portrayed in my mom, where anytime my mom leaves a grocery store, she scans the receipt and she will go back into the store or drive back to the store because they failed to charge her for an item. They missed it. And I've just always wrestled with Mom, do you know the time it's taking you to drive there and drive back and deal with them? Like, they don't care. It's not worth their time and you know, they manage their accounting for lost goods. And, but it's one thing my mom has always done is the integrity of going to do the right thing, regardless if it's a 20-ounce Coke was missed at the grocery store or a larger life decision, but always do the right thing. Since your mom asked.
My mom is a lovely woman, and she often tells me to this day that you never know what people are going through.
Yeah.
People are often holding way more than you think they are. So always catch people when they're doing good. You see something that they're doing well, try to point that out and encourage them, because people don't get enough encouragement in this life.
Yeah.
And I'm on a journey to get better and better at that. She's so phenomenal at encouraging people and making them feel like the most important people in the world. Anybody, anytime. So I want to be more like her in that way.
That's awesome.
At this time, I kind of want to ask some questions to the behind the scenes people of the podcast. Should we bring them in?
One more question from the fishbowl.
Okay.
Let's bring them in.
All right.
I got one for you.
Okay. You think you're going to pull it?
Yeah. This is the one.
Okay.
When are you going to start referring to the podcast as simply the Mopod?
That's a great question. I think we made a mistake. I think we should have called it the Mopod.
The Mopod?
The Missoula podcast is awesome. And you did such a good job with our brand. I love it. Jumbo, Sentinel, Missoula podcast. You're so creative. But when somebody called it the Mopod a couple of weeks ago, I was like, we missed it. We missed it. That's so great. So I think we're not ready to rebrand, but internally or externally, I don't know.
The
We just call
Mopod?
it the Mopod. How do you feel about that?
I'm so torn. Like the Missoula podcast was our baby. It's kind of nostalgic. Like love the name, but the Mopod is so brilliant. How have we not thought of this before? That I think we start there. Internally, it's the Mopod. Our production meetings, our team meetings, Mopod. But externally, we're still the Missoula podcast.
I love it.
All right, let's get Matt and Nick.
All right.
We'll be right back. Hey,
Nicholas, Matthew,
That's me.
good to have you guys on. I don't know if our audience understands how much of the work that you guys actually do compared to Brandon and I. It's like 90-10. Brandon does.
95.5.
So just for all of our listeners,
94.1 of that.
5-0.
Yeah.
yeah, we just really appreciate what you guys do. Could not do the podcast without you. Unbelievable. You make it look good. You make it sound good. Do all the editing. It's incredible. But now we got to
Producer, marketing director.
Yeah, we should probably introduce him. Go ahead. Tell him.
Nick Balla, producer, Missoula podcast, has been here since day one. All the credit goes to him.
I don't know about that.
When you
but,
hear
know.
this, when you're listening to this, driving in your car, at the gym, lifting, wherever you are, it is all because of Nick Balla.
hitting the record.
And over here in this corner, we got Matt Hoffman, our marketing director. Matt's been with us 6 months, 7
Yeah,
months,
8 months.
8
Yeah.
months. And Matt makes all things look beautiful.
So, first question for you guys. Favorite episode thus far since you've been involved, which has been from the beginning?
It has been. Similar to yours, I have to say the first lady of the Missoula podcast, which was my wife. I think like
Have to
episode
say or
5.
get to say?
I get to say.
Get to say.
Right.
Awesome.
Yes. Lovely episode.
Episode 5.
She's got just an incredible story. I think it was.
Yeah, Katie Thies, episode 5. Fantastic.
Prairie Sisters Vintage Market.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
How about for you, Hoffman?
Yeah, I'm going to be high maintenance and answer in 3 ways. But I feel
Wouldn't
like I've
expect
had
anything less.
Yeah, I have the perspective of listening to some before I started working here, and then also, and now that I'm here, I don't really listen to the podcast. I'm sorry, because I'm in here listening to it live. So
Right.
Sure.
from that perspective, and then, but I also thought like if I could recommend an episode to anybody, not necessarily like, well, maybe it is my favorite, but what would I, if I could compel Missoula to listen to any episode? So I'll start with that one. I think it would be the lifeguard episode with Lowell. If I could just put that in the entire city's Spotify list, I would do that. My favorite that I've listened to personally was my buddy Jonathan at Montana Fire Pits. Was a fun episode. I've heard his story. I've watched it happen, but watching him talk about it was fun. And I just think entrepreneurs are really interesting.
Yeah. Such a rags to riches story.
And just
And
like
Jonathan just puts his head down and shows up
Yeah.
every day.
a cool product, something that I use like our fire pit at our house. We sit there every night for 9 months out of the year. So, and then ones I've sat here, I think interestingly, I really liked the episode of Sheriff Jeremiah Peterson, because I grew up in a police household. My dad was the county sheriff in his county where I grew up. And so just hearing that perspective, and I had thrown a couple questions your way that I wanted to hear how he'd answer it. And I knew how my dad would answer it if you were on, so that was fun.
What do you guys in the background as you're watching us interview guests? What is the most frustrating thing that Brandon and I do that drives you insane?
you guys are pretty good. I mean, I feel like 100 episodes, obviously, you've cleaned up the tapping or the pulling up your coffee mug and all that stuff. So we're pretty good on that front so far. Just a nice loud slurp there. Yeah, and I feel like you guys were saying earlier, like I know what questions you're gonna ask. As we were like going through the episode, I was like, all right, set my timer right in about 2 minutes. Brandon's gonna ask
That's awesome.
this question, and there it is. Yeah, nothing frustrating though. I feel like we've got a pretty good system rolling. So
How about for you, Hoffman?
Brandon, I feel like if I have a great question, he won't look at his phone and I'm like trying to signal to him, but usually he does. He catch it. But a lot of times it's like I just really want to tell him, but we're going to solve that with this new studio remodel.
Right.
And the other one is also solved, which was a lot of times, Steven's like, the camera's here and he's like sitting like this. Or it's like, next question from Steven is like eating the microphone. You don't have to do that.
you don't.
I don't have to go.
Seriously,
like
you
this.
two have done a phenomenal job with this new studio. When I walked in this morning to see the finished product for episode 100, like this is
Come a long way.
Yeah, that's
incredible.
a good shout out to Rattlesnake
Rattlesnake
Cable
cables, these new cables. Yeah, we probably sound clearer and sound better because of these cables. So huge shout out.
Freed up a lot of space by running a long length of cable to a control room.
Yeah.
So,
And they're black. They're not like rainbow colored like we had red, yellow, and purple cables before. Like, so cool.
We've come a long way.
All right, I got a question for you guys from the fishbowl that Steven's now hoarding and won't let us have access to. If you were stranded in Missoula with only $5, where are you going and what are you getting? Steven, you first. Then I'm going to Nick and then to Matt. I used to be Five Guys, and now their burger's like $13.
Yeah, you can't get any food for $5 in this town, can you?
I think you get the biggie bag at Wendy's for $5, according to my son.
Yeah, he eats a lot of those.
Yeah.
Honestly, don't know. I think I'm going to probably Town Pump, getting a gallon of water, and then I'm just hoofing it back home, stranded, out to Lolo. That's about 8-10 miles. That's easy with a gallon of water.
Well, you guys know me. I don't have a gambling problem, but I'm going to find the closest Sportsbet Montana kiosk, find whatever game is going on, throw that $5 in, obviously win.
Yep.
And now I've got $10. And with that $10,
You're going to find the next game on.
I'm going to find the next game on, or just buy like a Big Mac meal and, enjoy my victory.
It's amazing.
Matt, what are you doing with $5?
yeah, you kind of, I knew that you would steal my answer, but I would try to turn the $5 into a little bit more and then have a nice meal.
Yeah, Brandon, you got
No, I asked the question.
okay. What's something that you thought would be easy about podcasting, but turned out to be incredibly hard?
I think I referenced this earlier. Just the grind, the consistency, showing up.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. And like, even just like all the social media being like, okay, what clip? I mean, we have 30 to 40 minutes of an episode. And I'm in the background thinking, okay, what 30 seconds is really going to grab people's attention so that they actually watch that and then go and listen to the full episode. So just that little thing of like, okay, we have this full episode. How do we make it compelling in these, however handful of 30-second sound bites that'll get Missoula to listen? Which again, just goes back to how much work it actually is.
My job is not hard. So
All right, Matt, go to the fishbowl. Matt, pull a question.
Okay.
Yeah, all right, yeah. There you go, Matt.
If Steven will let you.
I've been hoarding those.
All right. Which local event is most likely to turn into a country song?
I feel like you could make a pretty big hit on a brew fest. Down at the brew fest at Kara's Park.
Pretty good.
If we got any local Missoulian country musicians, I just wrote your next hit
I
single.
feel like the fair is a whole country song.
Jeez.
You've got it all there.
Where I want to be careful here, but where are those people the other 364 days of the year at the fair? People come out of the woodwork. Good. You have any answers to that, Hoffman?
I would listen to a country song about the Mo Club, or maybe floating down Maclay, putting in a Maclay, floating the Bitterroot into the Clark Fork. I don't know. That'd be a good summer.
That's a great summer tune right
Yeah.
there. One of my favorite all-time videos of the University of Montana Grizzlies football team is when the whole football team got tubes and went down the river. The amount of joy on their faces is 60 young men.
It's like how they ended like fall camp.
Yeah.
2 days.
After Bobby just ran him through the ringer, they just
it brought me
reprieve.
it brought me so
awesome.
much joy. They were on top of the world. Anyways. Okay, Nick, you want to pick one out? You got a question?
I got to move my mic, and I told you guys.
Throw it. Oh.
Ooh, this one fell out.
Uh-oh.
It's fate. Let's see here. I feel like we already answered this one, pretty much. So we're gonna switch it up. What's the most unexpected thing that's happened while recording an episode?
The guy that trimmed his beard.
That is
Tom Attard.
Yeah.
The episode where favorite coffee shop was called Funk It, and I did not hear Funk It and just stared at our guest trying to figure out what they just
That
said
was
to
a
me.
good one too. Yeah.
I was shocked. It took me a few minutes to figure that one out. Do you remember that, Stephen?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Pardon me? That's
Yeah.
basically what we just said. Nick, you got anything to add to that?
Those are definitely two, I'd say, most unique things that have happened.
You had a coughing attack once, and
Yeah.
you got up and left the studio, and we carried on without you. And I don't know that anyone ever noticed that you disappeared from that episode.
I almost died
Yeah.
that episode. Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah.
There are people that have choked and they feel embarrassed and they'll go to the bathroom, like at a restaurant or something, and they'll go die because they're more embarrassed about choking than they are about like getting help. And so then you go to the bathroom and there's no one in there to help you. I mean, I
I'm glad
can't
you
actually.
That could have been my
I'm
story.
glad you didn't die that day.
Yeah. That'd be wild.
That would have been the end of the Missoula podcast.
I don't even remember what episode that was, but yeah, you just took the episode for 30 minutes.
I was worried. Tears coming down your face. It was rough.
You got another one, Nick?
This is a good one. Heartfelt. What do you hope people say about the Missoula podcast in another 100 episodes?
One of the things that I want to get better at is having more fun. You guys are all pretty lighthearted guys. And I go pretty deep, I think. I hope people would say in the next 100 episodes, wow, those guys had a lot of fun with their guests. They made people feel a lot of joy. And it wasn't about Brandon or Steven. It was all about making other people have a good time.
Yeah. If Missoula had an official smell, what would it be?
It's obviously marijuana.
North Reserve.
I was going to say, when I drive over the bridge right by the Mullen Walmart there's you get that.
Bacon?
No, you get that sewage.
That sewage.
Oh, I
Sewage
see.
and bacon, though. That's really nostalgic for me because my first apartment in Missoula was Copper Run back there behind that Albertsons. And that was like, at first bothered me, but then that was like the smell of my like 19-year-old independence.
Yeah, I don't know if I hate that smell on a summer night or embrace it.
Yeah.
It's very
I lived in
nostalgic.
a duplex right off River Road. And because of that sewer smell, we called it the pooplex. It was bad. Yeah, you're right. All right, I got one for you. What's the best piece of listener feedback that you've ever received?
Slow down, dig deeper, ask another question on that topic. Like, go further. Because the gold is usually found in the third question. That's what I received.
That's good advice from me.
Can you explain that a little more?
Are you doing that to me right now? Just people often give the quick, easy answer, but then we ask the why behind that, or why do you feel that way?
Yeah.
And then you get down to like their core of what shaped them, where that came from, their belief system, and that's usually where you get the more vulnerable, transparent answer. And so, I think Steve and I have worked really hard at going deeper by getting beyond the surface.
Yeah. You got any feedback, Nick?
I'm perfect. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
All right, here's one for you, Nick. What's one Missoula business or person we haven't interviewed yet, but you really want to see us interview?
Ooh, that's a good one. Let's see. I mean, he's been on our list and he's avoided us a couple of times, and we're in the works, but Bobby Houck is on the list.
Bobby.
So he's so busy.
Bobby,
Can imagine, but
I know you're not listening to this, but we really want to interview you. We want to know how your mind ticks. We want to know what's made you so successful. Please come on our show. We love you. Okay, we're all in. We're not good journalists. We're not going to ask hard questions. We just want to talk Grizz football.
How about you? Who do you want on the show?
Bobby.
What up, Bodner? President Seth Bodner.
Bodner would be cool. I think that would give me a lot of street cred with my wife because her fondest college memory was walking across the oval at the U, and the sunlight was coming down through University Hall and was hitting Bodner just perfectly as his hair was flowing. He's all fit. And she said in that moment, she's never seen a more beautiful man in her life. So I'd like to do that so I could go up in my wife's. But
What do you think, Matt? Who do we need to get?
I would love to interview Chakota. I just think Missoula has some really cool stuff, I think, because of him. Music, food, whatever. Good story. But I also think as far as a business and this time of year, Karis Nursery is like a really old establishment, and just, you know, their plants are all over town everywhere. Not these plastic ones, but I could go into Karis and drop 10 grand in 5 minutes.
Really?
On trees and flowers.
are you a plant man?
Yeah. Just gardening and landscaping, house plants.
We need to work on that one. I
Yeah.
think we need to work on all of
And the
these,
Karis name around Missoula
Right.
is a big deal too. So yeah.
the Garden City.
The
The
Garden,
Garden
City.
City. Russell, what do you got for us?
If the Missoula podcast got picked up for a TV show, what would the first episode be about?
Have you guys ever watched Arrested Development? And he goes, I've made a huge mistake.
Yeah.
Sometimes I imagine that when we're in the thick of it.
I would make it like a mock TV show where it's not real, but it appears to be real. Like I just watched this show for the first time. It's been out for a couple of years, but called The Rehearsal. I don't know if any of you have seen that, but some of the listeners maybe have. It's on HBO, and it's like you can't tell what's real and what's fake. It's like if The Office, if you were thinking it might actually be real, like it's very unclear.
And very uncomfortable.
Very meta, as they say.
What is that? What does meta mean? Nobody knows.
You're gonna have to edit this out. I feel like I should have a good definition for that. I don't know.
That's
I mean, it's like, I don't know. That'd be a good.
Hey
answer
Siri, what is meta?
It's going to say Facebook.
Meta is a prefix meaning more comprehensive and transcending. There you go. That's what it is, Stephen. It's more comprehensive.
Did you want me to pull one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, pulling out.
Okay. What do you think is the most nostalgic thing about Missoula?
I feel like this is a Brandon question since he's been here the longest.
Yeah.
What is still here
Or it doesn't have to be here.
from way back?
I think that's what's crazy about, like, I've been here, it'll be 10 years, or it's 10 years this summer. So pretty much when this episode comes out. And even I'm at the point where I'm like, oh yeah, that used to be.
Right.
And, oh, I remember when this was. Just like those little businesses that have come and gone. And I've only been here 10 years.
I think when you're
but-
driving back into Missoula, when you're heading west and you come around Jumbo and you see Missoula open up and Washington Grizz and the lights, I mean, that stunning every time. Like, that's pretty nostalgic. I feel like people reference it often, but Brennan's Wave, Karis Park, just being down there is so cool. So Missoula, not like any place else, but It's crazy. Growing up here, I remember, and I know Matt does as well. I remember when Reserve Street was 2 lanes and it was all asphalt, and it really became like a compressed dirt road from like Mullen to the interstate. And there was nothing, like there was very little beyond South Avenue heading north. There was some residential on Reserve Street. And then there was nothing from Mullen until Carl Tyler built, which was actually built where Lowe's is. And then Costco built next door to them. But there was just fields. There was nothing. Like you're going through like rural Montana to get to the airport. And then all of a sudden like Target popped up. And then, over time, Carl Tyler sold 2 Lowe's and rebuilt on the other side of the overpass. And there was nothing. It was just a 2-lane road, Reserve Street, that went from Brooks to Mullen. And that was Missoula.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
This place is changing.
Yeah.
What's the thing that's happening in Missoula that breaks your heart the most, or that you don't want to see change but is changing?
Every other business is either a bank or a pot shop.
Yeah.
We have enough of those, I think, at this point.
It's so hard because, we like to hold on to the nostalgia, but sometimes the new improves livelihood. And so I think there's pros and cons to all of this, all of the growth. I mean, I think the growth is great for economy and opportunity, but at the same time, infrastructure and traffic can be a drain. I went to college down in Texas, and so I've got family who lives in the Phoenix area. And so North Reserve doesn't really bother me, the amount of traffic, because it's so much worse in other places. But it really frustrates me on a Friday afternoon at 3:00 when it takes 30 minutes to get from one end of town to the other. But I think my greatest concern is with the growth is just the crime. Missoula used to be such a safe place where you could just leave your home unlocked, leave your cars unlocked, let your kids run. And with growth, with all the positive, it is, the opportunity for crime grows too. And that's probably one of the things I wish we didn't have.
All right, a couple more questions.
Let's do it.
All right. What's a hill you'll die on when it comes to Missoula food? I'll go first. I'm so sorry, but I think double front chicken is overrated.
Ooh. Wow. Really?
I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to go there, but
let's break this down. Do you get it to go and eat it later, or do you eat it there at double front?
I've done both.
Okay. I feel like it's 2 different experiences.
Okay.
I think the chicken is better when you eat it there, fresh, rather than drive home. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that before.
It was a hot take.
That's good.
Sorry, double front chicken.
Yeah.
Unbelievable business. Thankful for what you've done in this community. Iconic business. Just had to get that out there.
I'm thinking still.
So if I were a guest and Steven, you started asking me rapid fire questions and what's my favorite restaurant, I would probably say Zoo Thai right now. I'd fall into that category. But a hill I'm willing to die on right now, I think the most underrated restaurant in Missoula that nobody ever talks about is Pho V on Brook Street. Phenomenal food.
Really?
Amazing.
Never have thought about going there.
Amazing.
Okay. You like it too, Nick?
I've never been either.
Yeah.
So
It's solid. But I don't want to tell people about it because low wait times, incredible food.
No,
It's
we
amazing.
need to bump that place
They
up
actually,
so
so
they
I believe
stay.
it's a family of 4 that runs it. The mom does all the cooking. The dad does all the dishes and prep work. And then their 2 children are the wait and bus staff. And it's just a family of 4 and they have unique hours. And
Wow.
I believe Vietnamese family, and food is phenomenal. And was visiting with the daughter, who's our waitress in there, and they have no recipes. She said her mom measures everything just based on the eye and knows how to make. And it's solid.
it's amazing.
Good food. I will take you guys to lunch there.
All right.
Lunch on me.
Today.
Perfect.
We'll do it. Sure. Yes.
Nick, you got anything?
I don't know. You know me. I'm a pretty pretty level guy. I don't want to die in any hills here.
That's true.
What's the best burger? What's the best burger in town?
I would say if I'm gonna get a burger, I would go to Five Guys. Like, it's just a solid burger.
Old reliable.
And I'd say it's the best burger, honestly. So,
Matt, you got any food hot takes?
Hot take. I don't know.
Because you're a foodie.
But I don't know that I have a hot take. If I had a hill to go, I think similar to you, if I was going to answer the favorite restaurant question, it would probably be Plonk.
Yeah.
But I wish there was a hill that I could go die on to get them to bring back the pork chop that they had for a long time. It was so good. It was perfectly done every time. The sides, it was always with Brussels sprouts and just perfect little grill marks. And it was great.
Plonk, are you listening?
Every time I go there, I'm like, hey, just want to throw it out there. Ought to bring back the old pork chop.
And they just don't listen.
They haven't listened yet, huh?
Not yet.
It's coming.
We'll set the time of the races on. The pork chop comes back or we get Bobby on the podcast first. We'll see. Okay, 2 more questions.
Sure.
What do you love the most about Missoula?
The guests take my answer quite often. I grew up in Dillon, you guys know that, and I
Had
can't.
no clue.
Yeah, I can't remember people out running or riding their bikes, or we floated the river, but the river didn't go through town. I am just like consistently blown away by how active this town is. It's inspiring to me. It makes me want to be more fit, makes me want to get outside more. I love how active Missoula is. And it's a two-edged sword too, because I love being in the mountains. And that was one of the best part of being in Dillon, is you go in the mountains and nobody's there. In Missoula, you just run into so many people, but it's cool. And I've had so many great conversations with people I never would have met on the top of Jumbo or on top of Sentinel, or Dean Stone. So
how many times do you think you've climbed Sentinel in your life?
It's probably my most climbed mountain just because of the access to it. 1,900 feet of elevation. I've done that over 100 for
and
sure.
You're up there at least once a week?
At least
right
once
now?
a week, probably. Yeah. It never disappoints.
amazing.
I can't believe when I'm up on top of Sentinel that this is a minute. We're not even out of town and I can climb that mountain.
Yeah.
So cool.
Do you feel like Mount Sentinel kind of owns you, kind of looks at you and laughs?
It does. It mocks me.
Why? What is it about that mountain?
I don't know. It's always calling me back to
It's
climb it.
awesome.
Great question.
Are we not all answering that one?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
He's been
I
thinking
thought I
about
had a
it.
great answer.
Yeah.
Well,
I have an answer too.
I just think the most common answer to that amongst people is the diversity.
Right.
Mhm.
But I kind of agree, but it's not just the diversity of thought or politics and the granola people, but it's the diversity of lifestyle that you can live here, whether anything that you're into, any hobby that you like,
Yeah.
any activity that you want to do, even the food, I think is really improved. There's just all of it. I'm sure you could find that other places, but maybe not in as small and both rural and urban that we have. So I like that.
But do you love it?
Yeah. I've grown to love Missoula.
It's a
Well,
slow burn.
I would like to move to Hawaii someday, like our last guest that was here.
That sounded pretty awesome.
Maybe second home there.
That's pretty much my answers. There's something here for everyone.
Yeah.
Fishing, hunting, not that at all. You can go downtown and bum around. You can get into the art scene here. There's a big college, relatively speaking, but a college that has successful sports programs. So there's that. There's, all of it.
Brandon.
I agree with you guys. I agree with our guests. I mean, the most common answer we hear is the people, the diversity, or the outdoors. In an effort to be contrarian or be different, an answer that we've never received that I absolutely love, especially this time of year. I love the daylight schedule in Missoula. The other night I was like, realized it's 10:30 and it's light out. Like I absolutely love that. And then I think in the winter, the dead of winter, there's something cozy about being dark at 5 p.m. And I love the pendulum of daylight here. It's so unique, so different to so much of the world.
4 complete seasons that are all really different.
Yeah, extremely different.
Yeah, most of Montana is 2 seasons. It's cold and way too hot. Missoula, Bitterroot Valley actually has 4 seasons, which is nice. Yeah. I have a question for you guys. It's not in there.
Okay.
What's your most contrarian hot take? Most people believe one way, but you're going the other way.
About Missoula?
In general.
Go for it, guys.
I'm thinking.
Mine's a small hot take, and keeping it with Missoula, whenever people say, like, they bump into a person and they're like, oh, it's a small world, that drives me nuts because this is Montana, it's Missoula. Like, it's not a small world. It's, if I bump into Nick in China someday randomly and we haven't talked in 20 years, then I'll say that. But this whole like, oh, I saw someone from Florence and then said small world drives me crazy. That's my hot take.
That's a good one.
That's good. Mine right now, I would say mine right now, it's so similar to Matt's, but different is, I don't know the exact number. Whatever the current world's population is, 8 billion, 9 billion people. I don't know that we really have a clue how many people are on this planet.
Oh, yeah.
The margin of error has got to be 10, 15%. Like, how do we know? Like, just a couple of weeks ago, I was in Istanbul, Turkey, and they say their population's 24 million. No doubt there's a lot of people there. But how do you know? Like, how are we really tracking this? I don't know. I don't think we have a clue how many people are on the planet.
It's a good one.
I think we're guessing.
No doubt.
Yeah. And until Matt and Nick run into each other in China, I'm not going to say how many people are on this planet.
You got one, Nick?
I mean, mine's similar to Matt, where it's like something that people say all the time. And it's just like, no, that's not how it is. When people post an opinion on the internet and they start with, am I the only one that thinks? No, you're posting your opinion to the 8 to 10 billion people on the planet, give or take a couple 100 million. It kind of makes me realize how not unique a lot of us are and how very similar we all are when you go on any social media and like a popular post and you've like thought something, look at the comments and you see that comment at the top with all these replies. And it's like, yeah, we, nothing is really unique or
I have an example of that, and it's also something people say that bothers me. In a second, I'm sorry to go twice, but when people say, if you don't like the weather in Montana, just wait 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
But the number of places I've traveled around the United States that they're all like, welcome to Tulsa, and they say the same thing. It's like every California sometimes says that, It's like, that's not unique to Montana.
Right. I thought it was for most of my life.
Yeah.
Until I started traveling, and that's their tagline in St. Louis.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
So what's yours?
It's sort of taken the route of pet peeves, which I'll jump on that a little bit, mixed with a little conspiracy theory. What drives me nuts is when people are so adamant that we did land on the moon. And they have no room or space to even talk about the conversation. See, it's happening now.
It's happening right now.
He's ready to throw hands.
When I go back to my
There is a lot of doubt there. Now, I'm not saying we did. I'm not saying we didn't. We didn't. I'm just saying it's worth the conversation. That's it. So I'm backing away.
I like it. I don't know if this is a good question or not. If Missoula were a person, what would their Enneagram type be?
Who submitted that question?
I don't know. There's no names on these.
They would be a 7.
Well, this could be a good discussion because I think also a 4. We're so emotional.
I don't know the Enneagrams enough.
Me either.
Maybe that says something about my Enneagram that I'm too selfish to know any of the numbers besides my own.
I don't even know
You're
my
8?
own.
So I'm a 9.
Oh.
But does that make me not care at all about what all the other ones are?
I think so.
I think so.
Or an 8. Just
Challenging on
challenging.
everything.
Missoula's very challenging. We're very different than the rest of the state. I don't know. Okay. 2 more questions for real.
Okay.
This
This is fun.
Okay. We'll go with this one, then we'll end with Nick's. If you had to compare your podcasting style to a famous duo, who would you two be?
Mike and Mike. ESPN Radio.
Solid.
I would say that could be it, but maybe Lebitard and Stugatz.
You took this question way more serious than I did. I was thinking like Batman and Robin, Charlie Brown and Snoopy, Lone Ranger, Tonto.
Oh, I listen to a lot of podcasts.
But Mike and Mike, I like that. We'll go with that.
Well,
okay, if we were Batman and Robin, who's Batman?
You're definitely Batman.
All right, Robin.
Everybody knows you're the driving force behind everything we do.
All right, Nick. Last question.
What's the biggest lesson you've learned from hosting the Missoula podcast?
I'll go first and then Brandon, you finish us off,
Okay.
Batman. Everybody has a hero's journey. Everybody's overcome something. Life's really challenging for all. And I honestly think that the coolest thing that we do on this podcast is we highlight the average Joe hero story. And it wasn't until doing this that I realized, man, everybody's got a really cool journey. If you ask enough questions, you'll figure it out. You'll find out some really cool things that you relate with and that you admire in everybody.
A bit cliche-ish. But you hear those sayings of, hey, be kind to everyone who's going through something, because we're all going through something. And the last 99 guests, including the 2 of us, it's been 101 different people that have gone through hell. And every single one of those guests is still thriving and living today and making it and getting there. And from the entrepreneurs to the athletes, like every guest had a dream at some point in their life that what life was going to look like or what they wanted to do or whether they were going to accomplish. And here at episode 100, it may not have played out the way everybody thought it would at the beginning, but it's played out and everybody is living the dream. We're still living. We're still pursuing. We've got incredible relationships with our family, our team, our staff, the alumni from the university, seeing what they've done with where their sports career has taken them. I think of guys like Tyler Hobbs, who was a basketball player, who got a football scholarship, who landed into a successful real estate career. Like just the way life plays out for all of us has been an incredible journey. And I'm excited to see where we are at episode 200 and where our guests from episode 1 through 100, where they are, in 200 weeks from now. It's been an incredible journey. So grateful for every guest we've had. Steven, it's been an absolute joy and honor showing up with you each week. Matt and Nick, can't thank you guys enough for what you do and how you've made this what it is. Could not have done it without you guys. And on behalf of the Missoula podcast crew, thank you, Missoula. We love you. The Mopod. Missoula, you're an amazing community, very special. What we have here is definitely unique. And let's keep building something special together. Love you, Missoula.